Netanyahu has just had a press conference or had a press conference today to discuss the upcoming operation in Gaza. I'm not sure if Netanyahu said we should call it occupation or we shouldn't call it occupation, but it's happening, and he had a press conference for the first time since I think last year. I think last one was in December 24. Yeah, he's definitely not the one to do them often, and usually when he does it, it's because something big is happening. So he definitely seems to be sort of putting more to this operation, to what will happen. And welcome to the Daily Objective. My name is Daniel, and today, I think we'll discuss one of the main points that is going on, and is the fact that I think the West is has really forgot how wars are fought and how wars are talked about, and I think I would consider Israel part of that West, and Netanyahu himself seems to not understand the proper way of waging a war and how to have the right rhetoric about it. I'll pick up a few things from the press conference that we can comment on, but we also have one video, so we'll also watch that. I would maybe just, I think the press conference, or at least the video that was posted, was about half an hour. As always, Netanyahu, even in English, is a pretty good orator and has a pretty, some clips are pretty good, as the one we'll watch, but overall, no good rhetoric or good way of explaining a situation or talking about it is unfortunately not enough. You need the right words, and you need the moral conviction behind those words. Um, so let's watch the one clip I have. If I do have, oh, there we go.
I think there's an issue here. And the issue is many leaders tell me, look, we know you're right, but we can't stand, in the face of the public opinion in our country, especially European leaders. They tell me that over and over again. And I say, that is your problem. It is not our problem. It is not our problem.
So he was asked, what does he think about basically the European leaders or all leaders sort of recognizing the Palestinian state and basically being loudly against Israel. And he said that behind closed doors, people are largely behind Israel, or sort of the leaders are behind Israel, but because of the population, they cannot do so loudly. Now, to what extent is that true? Um, I mean, I don't know enough about like internal politics of every single country, but again, that's what the leaders are, right? They are representing. Who cares if the leaders are doing it genuinely or not? The fact is, they are doing it, and I think sort of like Netanyahu rightly pointed out that it's sort of like your problem to figure out, but also it's Israeli problem, right? Like this is breaking apart the relationship. I mean, the fact is that Germany, you know, you could say that sort of them speaking out against Israel while behind closed doors, they endorse it or they're okay with it. You could say that, okay, maybe Israel is losing sort of like international opinion, but if it doesn't go into any material things, maybe it's not so bad. But the fact is, Israel is not fighting the war fully and properly because of the international pressure, because those leaders are helping that, right? They could, and I think Netanyahu commented on it, right? That I think he brought up the Munich conference, and he said, well, people were celebrating the Munich conference, but one man stood up against it and called it out for what it is. And that man was a hero. He was talking about Churchill. He explicitly said so. Um, but if those people continue talking against it, then we won't have what needs to be done in Gaza, right? And if we go to some of the more comments from Netanyahu, we'll see that this is really not being fought properly. He also commented on the German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, who, of course, as the Chancellor of Germany, he stopped Israel. He stopped the weapon exports into Israel that could be used in Gaza. Netanyahu has commented on this. He has buckled under the pressure of TV reports and pressure from various groups. I don't want to talk about him specifically. Some chose to forget that October 7th happened. We will not forget, and we will do whatever it takes to defend our country and defend our people. We will win the war with or without the support of others. But again, Israel is not trying to win this war. And I'll make this more explicit in the upcoming points. Bonnie, a member in the chat, says or is asking, do the current protesters in Tel Aviv give specific reasons for being against Netanyahu's Gaza City plan? Are their points rational or mixed? I haven't followed it closely, but if it's similar to as it was, I mean, again, I think there are rational points for being against this plan. But I wouldn't expect them from the people who are protesting in Tel Aviv. I think the fact that this plan is not going well enough might simply result in the death of IDF soldiers and will not result in any sort of lasting security sort of state for Israel. If what's going to happen is we are going, or IDF is going into Gaza City and, occupying all of Gaza just to simply give it back to the Arab states after, then yeah, that this is not a good plan. You are simply risking and you will. I mean, there is no way nobody will die during this. And even if nobody died, right? It's still, ammunition being used. It's still man hours being used. It's still, people's wealth and even more importantly, people's lives being risked or being used to basically achieve nothing, to not do what really needs to happen. United Arab Emirates would be good. I disagree with you if United Emirates could do it. I don't think so. I mean, I don't think they will. I don't think anybody has any reason to do so. Again, it's not simply governing some people for foreseeable future. It's de-radicalizing the Palestinian people. It's making sure they do not do this again. Several countries try to have Palestinians under them, and they hated that. PLO was in Lebanon. They hated having it there. Egypt used to control Gaza. They didn't want it back for some reason. Jordan is not necessarily happy about their Palestinian population. Again, I think at least sort of nominally, Jordan is trying to be a bit more pro-Western in its own way, sort of in a similar way that Saudi Arabia is. And I think having the Muslim Brotherhood kind of people inside is not helping that desire. I think Jordanian king is very much not the biggest fan of the Palestinian people, even if he maybe won't say it explicitly. Deborah says, unless Gush Katif is restored, this will happen again and again. Yeah, absolutely. I think you need people there. Even if Israel takes control of Gaza, starts occupying Gaza, it needs to move people there. Again, if there are people there, it means you have the police there. It means you have things to protect. It means you have a sort of better culture coming in. So hopefully more people will change. But again, I think the way it was done, the way Gush Katif worked, was wrong because you still you had these for those who don't know, basically you had like these settlements around Gaza, but when it comes to the big cities, Rafah, Gaza City, they were basically Jews shouldn't really go there. It wasn't really safe to go there. So yeah, it was part of Israel, but basically it wasn't really sort of like what you would expect from a safe country to be in when there are It's one thing if they're like unsafe neighborhoods, but if whole cities are basically unsafe, that's a problem. You cannot have that and expect that they will eventually sort of integrate into society or sort of become full citizens. So let's cover some of the things Netanyahu has said. So he has said, Hamas still has thousands of armed terrorists in Gaza. They vow to repeat the savagery of the October 7 massacre and to do so again and again and again. It openly professes its goals to destroy Israel. It subjugates Gazans. It steals their food and it shoots them when they try to move to safe zones. It's instructive that now many Gazans are fighting back. They are begging us and the world, free us and free Gaza from Hamas. So I think this rhetoric is already a problem. You cannot separate Hamas from the Palestinian people. There is not, besides hostage situations, and I'm talking about like bank robberies, there are no situations in the world where the people, or when it comes to the countries, where the people are living under a certain regime that they do not have either explicit support for or tolerance for. And that is a problem. Palestinians have celebrated October 7. Palestinians want to keep the hostages in Gaza. Palestinians are trying to help Hamas fight this war and are helping fight Hamas, either the propaganda war or straight up helping them basically continue fighting this war. The problem with this kind of rhetoric is if you don't recognize what is the problem, if you don't actually see basically the thing you have to solve, then you will have a wrong solution. And this is what we're seeing, right? Instead of understanding that Palestinian population has to be de-radicalized, and that is the main thing, the way we are thinking about it, both Israel and the world, is no, Palestinians are oppressed people by Hamas. So if we simply remove Hamas, we can solve this, right? If the only reason why there is terrorism coming out of Gaza is because of Hamas, well, if you just remove Hamas, then there will be no more terrorism, and you can give it to Arab state. You can then leave it to Gazans themselves, right? If you believe that. And that is the problem. This is not what's happening. So, first thing, we have to recognize that Palestinian people are the problem. And this is what has to be fought. He also said no nation could accept a genocidal terrorist organization, an organization committed to its annihilation, a stone's throw from its citizens. Our goal is not to occupy Gaza, our goal is to free Gaza, free it from Hamas terrorists. The war can end tomorrow if Hamas lays down its weapons and releases all the remaining hostages. So here is an interesting thing. The war can end if Hamas lays down its weapons and releases all the remaining hostages. Well, Israel might believe that, but Palestinians don't. In the most recent poll that I've seen from the Palestinian organization on the ground, or I think it's like a non like a global non-profit. It's not like controlled by Hamas. Although to some extent, of course, if you are conducting business in Gaza or the Palestinian territories in Judea and Samaria, you do have to deal with them to some extent. But according to that poll, when asked, do you think the war will end when either Hamas lays down its weapons or hostages are released? Palestinians say no. So where do you think, like majority of them, so where do you think this is coming from? They don't think this war will end because they think it will continue fighting. It could either mean that they want to continue fighting, no matter if hostages are there. I mean, there were no hostages in, well, there might have been some hostages in Gaza before October 7, or some people Hamas have taken, either whether we know it or not. But sort of the hostages we are thinking of after October 7th, there were none before October 7th, and Hamas wasn't sort of directly attacking Israel on that. Yet they decided to go into war. So again, that is not a problem. Even if somebody said they were few. Yeah, I think there might have been. Maybe somebody can also tell me. And somebody says Gazans took part in October 7th. They're also holding hostages. Yeah, I mean, when it came to the Noah Argamani rescue that was from a house of a civilian, I believe a doctor. So yeah, this is absolutely Palestinians are helping Hamas in this regard. So continuing from the first point, I think the second one, Netanyahu has said when it comes to post-war Gaza, he said, Gaza will be demilitarized, Israel will have overriding security responsibility, a security zone will be established on Gaza's border with Israel to prevent future terrorist incursions. A civilian administration would be established in Gaza that will seek to live in peace with Israel. Given Hamas's refusal to lay down its arms, Israel has to finish the job and complete the defeat of Hamas. So again, this is a problem. The idea of, well, we'll simply hold the security perimeter, and go in when something happens. Well, this was the policy for the last 20 years. This was realistically even the policy before the Gaza disengagement. Basically, it was sort of, okay, we do have these security perimeters, and if something happens, we'll go in. No, this is not the way to do occupation. The way to do occupation, if you hope to actually de-radicalize them, is to control all the institutions, is to control everything on the ground, and to tell them, we are not going away until you change, until you decide that this is no longer the proper way to live. That cannot be something they can wait out. It cannot be, yeah, it cannot just be something that basically, yeah, Israel will go in, but at some point they might give up. If Palestinians know that, if they feel that, they know they can just simply wait out and let them go. Wait for Israelis to leave, and they can attack them again. Then, sort of like a third point to bring up, Netanyahu has said, Israel has let in close to 2 million tons of aid. I know of no other army that has enabled such aid to go to civilian population in enemy territory. If we had starvation policy, no one in Gaza would have survived after 2 years of war. But our policy has been the exact opposite. In the last few months, Hamas has violently looted the aid trucks meant to get to Palestinian civilians. They deliberately created a shortage of supplies, and the UN continuously refused until recently to distribute the thousands of trucks that we let into Gaza through the Kerem Shalom crossing. We've had tons of uncollected food rotting on the Gazan side of the border because the UN was and still is unwilling to deliver all of it. And again, this is good rhetoric. He is right. If this was what it was about, if this was some kind of hostage situation where Gazan civilians are simply sort of victims of this war, no, they are part of this war. And you are supporting that. You are giving into the propaganda. So you cannot defend yourself. You cannot, on one hand, say, yes, Palestinians are innocent, so we are giving them aid, and we accept this moral responsibility, and then say, yes, but we've killed tens of thousands of them, innocent ones. Because you're saying, Netanyahu is saying they're innocents. So even if you put aside all the Hamas casualties, the fact is that still, if if it should be taken that Palestinians are innocent, that you've killed tens of thousands of them. And that would be on you because you are supposed to take care of this. You've accepted this moral responsibility. This was a problem. Israel should have never accepted. Israel from day one should have said, no gas, no food, no water is going in. And any that happen, that happen are on Hamas. We will not allow it. And on Palestinians. If they want to do, stand up to Hamas. Get rid of Hamas, stand up to them, and they'll will let it go in. We have a super chat from Bonnie. Thank you so much. And she's also asking, isn't almost every Gazan a relative of someone in Hamas? Moving people and giving food, water, and medical care creates a perpetual herd of dependence, same as the past. I mean, yeah, Gaza has been the number one recipient of foreign aid. When it comes to sort of isn't almost every Gazan a relative of someone in Hamas? I mean, again, just remember, Hamas is the government in Gaza. So, and I assume Gaza probably doesn't isn't very keen on like private hospitals or private roads or private property at all. So probably everything goes through a favor. Everything is controlled by some government institution, meaning has ties to Hamas automatically. So yeah, everybody, Hamas has been in a sense normalized. It's a state of existence. I mean, it's their representative, and they are choosing to uh, not to do anything about it. Um, so yeah, I mean, when Netanyahu is talking about aid, is that's that's again, you are giving into the moral standard of your enemies, and you cannot fight on that standard. That standard tells you you shouldn't fight a war. That again, you cannot say that Palestinians are innocent. You cannot say that basically the way to fight wars is to give aid to your enemies and then expect to win a war. You have an impossible standard. That it's no, those things go against each other. You cannot both argue for fighting a war and basically say war is immoral by itself. So yeah, Israel, when it comes to giving aid to Palestinians, yeah, no other country has done that, but it's not a good thing because that moral standard says there is no good amount. I mean, when you go back into war, you could ask somebody when they say, okay, 10,000 casualties is too much, 20,000 casualties is too much, or there is not enough food. Well, how much is enough? Or how many casualties would be enough? Blank out. You wouldn't get an answer because because it doesn't have an answer. There is no casualty too small for those people when it comes to fighting a war, and there is no aid enough when it comes to it. This is the irrationality of the whole thing. Um, Somebody says that's the best way to get isolated by the world and get sanctions. You can starve people or use it to extortions you are proposing. Your idea is crazy. This is not extortion. This is like food is not something that falls into your mouth automatically and somehow is stopped. Somehow Israel is stopping. No, it has to be created and it has to be produced. Palestinians, if they want, produce your things inside of Gaza. They have every right to do so. They can do anything they want in Gaza. They've decided to use that time, they've decided to use that energy to fight against the Israeli state, and they get the consequences of it. Similarly, during the Civil War in America, when you had the civilians, the Confederate civilians, going on picnics when the Confederate and Union armies are fighting on the field because it was a spectacle of them. No, you need to feel the consequences on a war of a war. You started it, and the other side has to finish it as soon as possible. And you cannot do it while ignoring the fact that civilian population is supporting this war. And again, yeah, maybe Jews will be hated no matter what. Also, there is nothing Jews can do that would sort of say that the world would accept that Israel can fight this war. So it will be hated either way. The choice is: are you going to risk your destruction because you're not willing to fight enough, or will you actually fight and maybe get condemned by the world, but at least you will live and you will have the moral, uh, the moral high ground because you are actually fighting for your life. You are not accepting that the purpose of your life is to give food and risk your life for the enemy that have decided to kill you. With that, I think we've covered today's topic enough. So let me just give people a reminder about the Irreplaceable Spark Conference later this year, October 25th and 25th, 26th weekend conference. We will be doing, again, our first conference where you'll be able to meet some people who used objectivism to succeed in their professional lives. You'll be able to listen to them, or if you have the premium ticket, also get one-on-one, or if you have the higher tickets, also get one-on-one coaching sessions with them. So make sure to check out objectivism.co.uk, where you'll be able to learn all about it. You'll be able to learn what everything will be there. You can find more about the speakers, and in the upcoming weeks, you'll also be able to finally find out what the talks are going to be about. So make sure to check out objectivism.co.uk. And we also announce everything we do on our mailing list. So check out aynrandcenter.co.uk /newsletter, and you'll be able to also find out more about that. Make sure to sign up. With that, thank you everybody for watching. We'll be back tomorrow with another episode of The Daily Objective and The Reality Show. Until then, bye-bye.